Amari Cooper helps answer so many questions surrounding the Bills' passing offense. I'm sharing my initial reaction to the trade with you today on Locked On Bills.
You are Locked On Bills, your daily Buffalo Bills podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Bills Mafia? It's Joe Marino, author of Go Bills and Buffalo's Run, also the co-host of the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast, and I'm your host of Locked On Bills. Want to thank you for making Locked On Bills your first listen every day, and a big welcome and shout out to our everydayers. You know who you are. Those of you who never miss a single episode, I appreciate y'all being here very, very much. I'd also like to invite you to subscribe or follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Well, folks, welcome in. Just minutes ago, the Buffalo Bills traded for wide receiver Amari Cooper, and I've got a lot to share with you today. Very excited about the addition of this player. And so on this episode, I'm going to talk about the deal, the trade. We'll talk about the player that the Bills are getting, and then we're going to talk about the offense and how this impacts the Buffalo Bills offense overall. So let's get into it. The Bills acquire, through trade from the Cleveland Browns, wide receiver Amari Cooper. The Bills get Amari Cooper and a 2025 sixth-round pick. They send to the Browns a 2025 third-round pick and a 2026 seventh-round pick. So the Bills get Cooper and a 6. The Browns get a 3 and a 7. One of the big parts of any player that the Bills were going to trade for is it had to be a contract that they could realistically onboard. Earlier in the day, the Jets traded for Davante Adams, and they had to take on a massive amount of salary. The Bills are not in position to onboard a lot of salary, but they could take on this deal from Amari Cooper, which is only $807,000 in salary. They can obviously take that on. So that's a big deal. That kind of limited the options for the Bills through trade. And I think for them to come out of this with Amari Cooper and the deal that is very, very onboardable, I think is exactly what they kind of had to do. So they get Amari Cooper, who is 30 years old. He just turned 30 years old back in June, and he is an expiring contract. So the Bills will need to make a choice here in terms of, all right, what does this look like? Do you want him for more seasons? There's a lot they'll have to figure out. But for this year, they have Amari Cooper, and obviously he fills a big need for this Buffalo Bills offense. Let's talk about the skill set and the player that is Amari Cooper. 6'1", 211 pounds, was the number 4 overall pick in 2015 by the Raiders. And he was a big-time prospect out of Alabama, ran 4.44 in the 40, and has been very productive. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 1,000-yard seasons, had 1,200 yards last year, 1,100 yards in 2022. I mean, he's had 1,000 yards receiving in 4 of the last 5 seasons. So, yeah, he's 30, but it's not like he hasn't had recent production that's meaningful. And obviously, this season for the Browns has been a disaster as they continue to roll with Deshaun Watson at quarterback. And let's be honest, Deshaun Watson is not a playable quarterback in the NFL. He doesn't have it. And the Browns are just really in a tough spot with their foolish decision to trade for him and the contract that they gave him. And it's a clown show there. And so I think they're going to start selling off a lot of their players. And of course, Amari Cooper being one of them. And so far in 6 games this year, he's got 24 catches for 250 yards with 2 touchdowns, 53 targets. That's not a lot of efficiency, but that offense is just not, they can't function with Deshaun Watson. It's like watching a high school quarterback try to play in the NFL when you try to watch Deshaun Watson play the position. And so it's hard to really glean much from anything that Cooper did or didn't do this year because there's just nothing happening for that Browns offense. So now Cooper comes to Buffalo. And like I mentioned, 6'1", 211 pounds, low 4.4 speed. He's a route runner. Like Amari Cooper, one of the better route runners in the NFL. And that's what this Bills offense needs. They need somebody that can run a route and get open on the outside. And Amari Cooper immediately fills that void. He's got really good hands, ball skills, body control. He's a player that earlier in his career had some problems with drops, but he's really taken care of that over the last several seasons. Very efficient with his ability to consistently catch the football. So that was an early narrative for Amari Cooper that, I mean, it's probably been 7-8 years before that's been a concern at all. He's not necessarily like this big yards after catch guy, but what he is a route runner on the perimeter. 80% of his snaps, pretty much in any season of his career, have come on the outside compared to the slot. So this is a true perimeter wide receiver threat that has good hands, good speed, good ball skills, good body control, has some verticality to his game. Not a guy that isn't able to get down the field and win in the intermediate to deeper portions of the field. And one of those guys that it just feels like things kind of slow down for him at the catch point. You've seen the Bills have their own problems trying to defend Amari Cooper. He's a good NFL player. Like I mentioned, 4 of the last 5 seasons, over 1,100 yards. And so that's not nothing. One thing that I actually really like about Amari Cooper is this is not the first time that he's been traded. He's been traded from the Raiders to the Cowboys, from the Cowboys to the Browns, and now from the Browns to the Bills. And so being able to acclimate quickly is going to be a challenge, right, for everyone involved here, for the Bills to get to know Cooper, for Cooper to get to know the Bills, and for Joe Brady to kind of figure out how to incorporate him into the offense. But I think the fact that this is not unusual for Cooper positions him well to be able to step into this situation and hopefully help right away, because that's what the Bills need. They need somebody that can come in and provide this team with an answer. And so it's a big move. I mean, obviously the Jets go out and trade for Devontae Adams. The trade deadline is still a few weeks away. It's November 5th. And so the Bills making an early move here, and I like that. Like, there's no reason to continue to wait and act like you don't have a problem at wide receiver and then give up the same thing but have him for less time. I like that they did this now and gives them an opportunity to get it going and incorporate this skill set and have him help this offense in a meaningful way moving forward. So Amari Cooper to the Bills. On the other side of it, folks, I want to talk about a very practical application of Cooper to this offense. And I want to also update you on where the Bills stand when it comes to 2025 NFL draft capital. Folks, be sure to stick with me. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Time is our most precious commodity, so don't waste it scrolling through the same mind-numbing content for hours and hours. How can you spend it wisely to improve yourself? Our sponsor, Hillsdale College, is offering more than 40 free, that's right, free online courses, including Constitution 101, Introduction to Free Market Economics, The Rise and Fall of the Roman Republic, and a brand new documentary-style course on Marxism, socialism, and communism. All of Hillsdale's courses are self-paced, so you can start whenever and tune in wherever. Plus, you can go deeper with readings, quizzes, discussions, or just enjoy the lectures. Go right now to hillsdale.edu/lockedon to enroll. There's no cost, and it's easy to get started. That's hillsdale.edu/lockedon to register. hillsdale.edu/lockedon. All right, folks, let's talk more about Amari Cooper, the latest addition to the Buffalo Bills. No small deal here. This is a significant player in the NFL, as I've mentioned. Over 1,100 yards, 4 of the last 5 seasons. And so the impact on the offense is so straightforward. You get a route winner. You get a guy on the perimeter that can get a bucket. And respectfully, the Bills just didn't have that. And they made this calculated choice to have this everybody eats mentality. And in some ways it's good and helps, but what's missing is route winners on the outside. And teams were playing cover one, man coverage, middle of the field close, saying, beat us on the outside. We don't think you can do it. We don't think you can do it. And so this great idea of, hey, you got some great middle of the field options in Dalton Kincaid and Khalil Shakir. They're going to be good, helpful pieces for you. Curtis Samuel's your X factor. And then you got this group of big body dudes and Keon Coleman and Marquez Valdes-Scantling and Mac Hollins that are going to play on the boundary, and you'll be able to win 50-50 balls on the perimeter to make teams for paying for clogging up the middle of the field. Well, folks, guess what wasn't happening? That. They didn't have the true perimeter threats to be the offense that they're designed to be. And I'm excited for the direction of the offense now that you've seen Ray Davis, and I think how he can complement James Cook moving forward. Kincaid and Shakir, nice players. Now you add Cooper to this mix, and you upgrade significantly. Think about that for a second. Who's the Bills' best outside receiver? Take your pick. Is it Keon Coleman? Is it Mac Hollins? Does it matter? They're not better than Amari Cooper. You obviously got a lot better there. And so all of those players just go down the ladder, down the pecking order. And so you're looking at a top 3 passing game that now features Dalton Kincaid and Khalil Shakir and Amari Cooper. And then it's like, okay, you do have Curtis Samuel. You do have James Cook. You do have Keon Coleman. And it just makes everything that much better. It's a notable upgrade for this offense at a minimal cost. I don't thumb my nose at a 3rd round pick. That's not nothing. But as you watch this offense this year and you started to think about, can they do it? Can they really go on a run? The Bills, the blueprint was out there. Just play man coverage, clog up the middle of the field. They don't have guys that can consistently win one-on-one, and it's going to be a problem for you. It was potentially a fatal flaw. You've given yourself a real opportunity to correct that with an in-season move here to acquire Amari Cooper. So, yeah, I'm excited. I'm very excited about this addition. And if you've listened to my other podcast, Locked On NFL Scouting, we even have a running joke on the show that we are a pro Amari Cooper podcast. Like, both Kyle and I, big fans of the player, and have been, and we've been vocal about that for a number of years on that podcast. So I can tell you with complete congruency in my thoughts that not just because the Bills have added Amari Cooper, but legitimately this has been one of my more favorite players in the NFL. I don't think he's not Justin Jefferson or CeeDee Lamb or Jamar Chase. Like, don't get me wrong. That's not who he is. But he's a good football player. And he certainly upgrades what the Bills have. And I think when you look at the sum of all of it together, it's just a lot more potent of an operation. You have more clubs in the bag, right, that you can use to try to attack a defense. Because it was tough watching perimeter corners just swallow up the Bills' outside receivers. And it's like, man, you got to get a bucket, and it's hard to get a bucket. It's going to be less hard to get a bucket now that Amari Cooper is in the mix. You have an answer. You have another answer against man coverage. And I certainly hope that this addition unlocks even more of what the vision has been for this offense. So credit to the Bills. They weren't stubborn. They didn't go into this and say, hey, we traded away Diggs. This is our new mindset on offense. We're going to make it work. No, they went and did something. And look at this AFC. Like, look at the AFC. Who are the great teams in the AFC? Baltimore looks awesome. Houston looks good. The Chiefs are not playing well, but they're 5-0. And then it's like, who else wants to join that party? The Bills are positioned better now with this move to be taken seriously as an upper echelon AFC team. And I feel like it's wide open. The Ravens look like the wagon, right? They look like the team that is going to be the problem for everybody. And I'm curious to see, as the season moves along, do other teams kind of come up with some answers to deal with that very problematic offense, and then, of course, very stout front with their run defense. I'm curious to see how that plays out. But, again, the Bills are much more positioned to be a serious team in the AFC now that they have this weapon in Amari Cooper. Now the onus is on Josh Allen and Joe Brady to figure it out, make it work with Cooper. And obviously Cooper has quite the resume and experience with multiple quarterbacks, right? It's not like he's had his career and it's only mattered with one guy. He's been productive with Joe Flacco and Dak Prescott and just throughout his career, Derek Carr. There's been different quarterbacks throughout his career that he's been productive with. And I think that helps him step into this opportunity and certainly elevates this Buffalo Bills wide receiver core. Clearly the weakness of the team It was exposed throughout a couple of games this year, and the Bills have given themselves an answer. Let's talk about the Bills' draft capital in 2025 now that they've sent away their third-round pick. This is where they stand. They still got a lot of draft picks. They got their first-round pick. They have 2 second-round picks. So they have their own second-round pick and the Vikings second-round pick, which came back to them as part of the Diggs trade. They have 3 fourth-round picks. So no 3, but 3 fours. Their own fourth-round pick. The fourth-round pick that they acquired from the Bears in a draft day trade last year, and they're scheduled to get a 4th-round compensatory pick for Gabe Davis. They're scheduled to get a 5th-round compensatory pick for Leonard Floyd, and then they have 3 6th-round picks. Their own 6th-round pick, the 6th-round pick that comes back for Amari Cooper, and a 6th-round pick from the Boogie Basham trade to the Giants. So still very much loaded with draft capital. You don't have a 3rd-round pick, but you do have 3 4s. You do have 2 2s. So a 3 is not nothing. And I think if you look at this trade from the Browns side of things, they're a dumpster fire. They're probably thrilled to get a 3rd-round pick in exchange for a 30-year-old receiver that is on an expiring contract. That's probably not part of their long-term plans, as they are literally on the doorstep of having to like tear it down to give them a chance because they've really just blown it with the Deshaun Watson situation. So Amari Cooper, a Buffalo Bill, and simply put, I'm really happy about it. I'm really happy about it. You've given yourself a real chance to beat the style of defense that has given you problems this year and quite frankly, even last year. Now they got to figure it out. I think that's where my hesitation comes in, is onboarding a skill set can be challenging. I think Josh is still developing chemistry with his current players, and now you got another guy in the mix. Like, that's all very real. They hit the practice field and let's get it going. Let's get it going. Cleveland's not far away from Buffalo. You should be able to get there real quick and get this thing going because the Bills need them. The Bills need them. And obviously this stretch of games here, looking at the schedule, the Titans are next, Seattle, Miami, Indy, the Chiefs, and then you have your bye week. And so, you want to get them going as quickly as possible as you start to look at a date with San Francisco, a date with the Lions, the last 3 games in the division. So ramp him up, get him going, and position yourself better than you were. And that's exactly what the Buffalo Bills did with this move. All right, obviously this is a huge pivot point in the content for this week. I was watching the All-22 from the Jets game, so we're going to get back to that. And that podcast will certainly now come later than anticipated, but we'll still get to it. Of course, crossover Thursday. We'll get ready for the Titans, and obviously with this new layer of the Bills having Amari Cooper now in the mix. Folks, thanks for being here. Plenty of content still to come this week, and I'm certain that the Amari Cooper edition will weave its way into pretty much everything that I talk about for the rest of this week, and obviously excited for his debut on Sunday afternoon against the Tennessee Titans. Thanks for coming by, folks. Appreciate you being here. As always, I kindly ask that you share, subscribe, rate, and review. Have a great rest of your day. Go Bills, and I'll be back again for you real soon.